People make excuses for not going to a social event. I'm sure if you're listening, if you're honest, you've probably done it yourself. I must admit it's not something I usually do, but let's get more info. We've got Anna Willamson, TV presenter, author, life coach. Welcome to the show, Anna. Great to have you on board. Give us a bit of a rundown to the research, if you will, please.
Sure. And firstly, Jimmy, I would like to applaud you in not being a flake, because you are, I would say, probably the minority. But I've teamed up with Free Now UK, which is London's #1 taxi app, because we are a generation flake. And I'm holding my hands up today to say I used to be the biggest flake when it came to social events, because I hadn't planned myself. I get really anxious when it comes to public transport. And I recognised I needed to plan and prepare ahead of time by booking myself a taxi, which meant I was far more likely to actually go. Because, you know what, I think it's too easy nowadays for people to just bail on plans last minute, and the ramifications can be huge. We annoy our friends, we feel guilty, and it's sort of not on. And I think today I just really wanted to kind of put this into people's psyche, and as a life coach and someone who's been guilty in the past, say to yourself, if you do flake on plans, ask yourself why. What is it that makes you do that? For me, it's anxiety around the stress and the overwhelm of getting there. Bingo, I found a solution to that. I booked my cab in advance. Everyone's a winner. But I think it's important that we are held accountable to our plans, because face-to-face communication is really, really important. It's good for our mental health and our emotional well-being.
You know, I agree absolutely. I think sometimes it's one of them, isn't it, Anna, where you kind of, some people, I'm sure, they're probably, I mean, sometimes there's been times I think, should I go, should I not go? But I've gone, I thought, I'm glad I did. But there's the other side to it too. I mean, just sort of speaking there, do you think that some people maybe find it hard to say no? I mean, I personally would rather someone say, no, I can't make it, than sort of, mess me about type thing. But do you think that might be a case from your sort of coaching perspective? Maybe some people like that, they might be just agreeable. They'll say yes for the sake of it, but really they don't really want to go, and they're probably better off just telling someone no, they're not going.
Absolutely spot on. Jimmy, you should be a life coach. The importance of saying no, and actually I do teach this with people, and I think I find typically, actually, I know I'm generalising here, but with Brits, I speak for myself, we do have an issue with being clear and direct, and we have an issue with saying no. But here's the thing, as you say, you wouldn't have a problem with it, neither would I. And actually, here's the thing, most people do not. If you say ahead of time, thank you for the invitation, or it's not for me, thank you though, but I won't take you up on it on this occasion, or I can't make it, I'm not going to make it. You don't have to give an excuse, you don't have to give a reason if you can't make something ahead of time. When you've got that initial invitation that's come in, if you really know in your heart of hearts you don't want to go, or you're not likely to go, as you say, just say no. You're not going to offend someone. What you are going to do is offend the person that you're going to bail on at the last minute. Clear, concise communication, that is what it's all about.
Absolutely. And how do you find the balance, Anna, between, say, for example, like you've mentioned there for yourself, a bit of anxiety around transport, and maybe someone sort of genuinely is a bit sort of like social anxious, or they might have sort of underlying, they want to go, but they're too afraid to sort of say what's on their mind. I mean, how do you sort of find the balance between sort of, between saying someone's unreliable, where if they have a genuine sort of fear, and what do you do as a coach from that perspective? How do you sort of elicit that out of them to say, okay?
Yeah, you're so right. Social anxiety is such a thing. A lot of people, and I think just to reassure people, it's really common. A lot of people feel overwhelmed, anxious, shy, put on the spot, nervous, exposed when they go to certain events. And then typically, and this is another thing, with my anxiety disorder, used to be a huge cause of why I would bail, typically because of the transport situation. How am I going to get there? Oh, I don't want to get there, I'm just going to bail. But social anxiety definitely plays into that as well. And I say where possible, it's really important that you are brave and step up and are honest about how you feel. In my experience, personally, professionally, when you say what the issue is, it tends to completely minimise it and diminish it. So by saying to your friend that you're meeting, actually, do you know what? I'm feeling a bit anxious about today, or I'm feeling like I'm not in the mood for crowds, or, bring that person on board with you. Explain to them how you're feeling so they have some context of what's going on for you, and that they aren't incorrectly thinking that it's personal and you just can't be bothered to see them, or that you're unreliable, that there is actually a lot more behind it. And then what can happen is you can ask for their reassurance. Tell them what you need. And this is what I say to people, specifically if they need to bridge that gap between being socially anxious or anxiety around travel or overwhelm. Ask what you need. So do I need my mate to perhaps, meet me outside the venue and go in with me together? Do I need to perhaps think of an escape plan? Do I need to, in my case, plan my transport ahead of time, which is why I always book my Free Now taxi app in advance, because then it's done. I don't have to stress about that. But I think by being really authentic and transparent about how you're feeling is often the best way for it to actually diminish in yourself, but also to help others understand what's going on for you. People aren't mind readers. They don't know that you're feeling nervous about going out that evening. Be brave. Tell them.
Yeah, that's a great point, I think. And I think particularly as sometimes someone might feel sort of undervalued, but I'm sure there is the other side to it too. There are people who might have a better after opportunity that comes up on the day, and they think, well, I'll go to this instead, or it might be just sometimes people just aren't considerate as well, so these are going to cross people's minds as well, where you kind of think, well, they mustn't, value whatever it is. It might not even be a social, it might be like, for example, even a job interview, something like that, they don't bother turning up or saying anything. But I suppose in saying that, it's hard to say if it was always the case, but I think anecdotally, if I'm honest, I must admit, sort of growing up for me, it would take a lot. If you say you're going to be somewhere, do something, you do it type thing. Whereas I don't know if things have changed. I want to be one of the sort of type of people that says things have changed now. But what are some of the top excuses do you think that people use, and what are some of the things, just so I can use some myself?
No, Jimmy, you are a fantastic example of someone with integrity and manners, and more people need to be like you, honestly, absolutely, because we need to be really mindful of how people can really feel so devalued and the ramifications, and as you say, then left wondering, are they actually unwell, or are they using it as an excuse? Have they got a better offer? Everyone just starts to feel a little bit icky. So some of the top excuses, though, that do come in, and I wouldn't suggest anyone use these, but let's be real, we're being real today. These are the ones that we have discovered with our research at Free Now UK. Top one, feeling unwell, got a headache, dicky tummy. Moving down the list, family commitments, tiredness, an unmissable prior engagement, saving money, they've got an early start the next day, that is a biggie. Just don't feel like it, that is honest, but, it's a bit rude. Too much work on, lack of time, working late. Those are the top 10. But also in the list, we've double booked plans, transport issues, hence book your taxi in advance, forgot about the event, that's a bit lame to be honest, and your little one at home is unwell. These are all excuses that get trotted out 19 to the dozen.
Absolutely, and I also sort of lecture as well, and I hear a lot of similar excuses as well. And for me, like from my perspective, to not attend a lecture to teach would take a lot. I can't think of a time where I didn't turn up, no matter how I sort of felt. So I sort of sometimes, I suppose the point is, sometimes we can expect the same from other people, but not everyone is that way inclined. I think that's quite useful. I suppose, is there a message from a coaching perspective, and for people who do make these excuses, so that they might not even be aware, they might be oblivious in their own mind to think that it doesn't have an impact on the other person? Do you think there's a case for people sort of realizing, have a bit of empathy for somebody else who you do let down type thing?
Right, absolutely. And in coaching, it's called disassociating, as in come out of your own sort of body, figuratively speaking, and think about things from a distance point of view, how that situation looks overall. Put yourself in that other person's shoes and really try and embody what they might be feeling. Will they be believing your excuse? Will they not be believing? Will they be cross with you? Will they be disappointed? Will they be let down? We need to practice more empathy and more integrity around when it comes to flaking. And the problem we have actually with all these excuses is, problem is nowadays most people don't, even if it is a genuine excuse, maybe it is I am genuinely unwell and I genuinely have a migraine, chances are now, because they're trotted out so frivolously, no one's going to believe you. So, that's also a problem. But I think you create your own pattern and your own path. So, for example, someone like you, Jimmy, I would imagine if you show up every time, right? So I would imagine that if you really cannot turn up to an event, people wouldn't question the reason why. Do you know what I mean? They will go, well, Jimmy's always here. So if Jimmy says he's, got a family emergency, we have no reason to distrust that because he has shown up. So this is it. It's how we hold ourselves. It's how we are and how we portray ourselves. And then people will know if we're authentic or we're not. So the more we flake or give excuses, people are going to start, smelling a rat and thinking, it's the the boy that cried wolf, isn't it? Well, are they or aren't they? So it's our responsibility as humans and as friends and as colleagues to be real, to be authentic. If we don't make an event, just be honest about why you're not making that event. And if it is, I just feel really anxious and I am really tired and I really don't want to go, be honest about that.
No, 100%. I think, and I suppose, this is sort of around events, and I think this sort of applies to a lot of things. And like I reflect on sort of lecturing role, I did some football coaching as well, and that sort of stuff. And if you've got like a player that, for example, says they're going to turn up and doesn't bother turning up, or turns up late, and it doesn't set a good impression for them as well, and it doesn't bode well really. It's something that sort of needs to be ingrained in people. But in terms of people want to find more about the research, about the work you do, is there any way you can signpost them to?
Absolutely. So all you need to do is just download the Free Now app, and everything is there. It's the number one London taxi app, and it's all about the preparation and the planning. So when it comes to social events, personally for me, it's been life-changing.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. I'll check it out myself, and thanks for your time, and have a great day. Thank you.
You too, Jimmy. Thank you.